Well, my name is Marguerite Donlon, and I'm sometimes a technician, pick up pieces of gaffer tape and make sure the dancers don't trip up. But I would consider myself as a choreographer, and I'm a director of the company. So I basically bring my vision into the company together with some great people around me, and I create movement. Movement is everything. You know, people say, where's your starting point, or what's your choreographic style? I studied classical ballet, but I actually started dancing really late, which was probably a really good thing. I was 16 when I started ballet, classical ballet. Before that, I did Irish dancing because there was nothing else, but actually it was good. Gave me good feet. I was able to jump very well. I was very musical. And to be quite honest, I did my first choreography at the age of, I think it was 14. So that's kind of funny. I choreographed before I actually learned the form of dance in the classical sense. And again, I think that was a good way, sort of like learning to run before you can walk. But so for me, dance is a way, or movement is a way for me to express myself. And for example, if I'm going to create a piece or a solo, let's say, I observe the person for a long time. If I don't know the dancer before or the person, I observe him or her for a long time, and I start to pick up on little movements or little twitches this person may have. Like me right now, scratching. And I use these things. They're my starting point. So I usually start from the person. I try to get really into the person. So that's if it's like a solo or something very personal. If I'm working with a group of people, then of course I think very differently. I think about form and composition and level changes and dynamic and speed, and so different other kinds of things. I think less about the person themselves because they're a group of people, but I think more about how it is to be the receiver of this group of people, so what kind of energy we want to give. So there's so many starting points, and I think that's what's great. I don't have a formula, as Andrew Lloyd Webber does. No, formulas, I would get very bored if I had a formula, so I need to always start from every time a different point. So sometimes I have music, sometimes I work with a composer, sometimes I work with voice or sounds or, everything. And that's the nice thing. It's always having this feeling that you're plunging into cold water or that you're in the dark for a certain amount of time. And I like that. I like not knowing where I am. And actually probably that was one of the reasons I liked coming to Germany. I hadn't a clue what people were saying because I didn't speak German. I do now, but I prefer to speak English today. But it was really interesting because I just watched people, didn't understand what they were saying, but I was reading their bodies and their energies. And actually, I think I learned more about those people because words sometimes you can say, I love you, but I love you. Yeah, it's really depending on the body. So the body language is something that really speaks to me. Yes. I love animals. I love to watch animals, and I often say to my dancers, you know those little head movements that animals make when they're trying to understand you, especially a dog. If you whistle at a dog, and I love these tiny, tiny little movements. So there's quite if you know, in my pieces, you might see these little movements, and that all comes from animals. And and just you know, cats or snakes or swans. I mean, they're beautiful. They have such a gorgeous way of movement. And this also not speaking and just understanding somehow, you know, or attacking each other. I love dogs, yes. Of course, when you talk about movement, you have to think about space. And when I create, when I think about movement in my head, I see the space. Whether that space is infinite or challenging, but it's definitely part of it because the space has an influence on the movement, and the movement has a bit of an influence on the space. But so in a theater situation, I know for me, I constantly try to break this squareness. I just had a meeting today with a gallerist or a museum, and they were saying, oh, but we have a little stage, you know, and I was like, I don't want a stage, actually. We'll get rid of it. So I don't like this square, so I always try to break it. In the new piece that I'm just about to do, the set is several very thin, about that size thin, metal rods which come down. At first they're just over the head, and then they can really come right down, and of course when they hit the ground then they kip over. But you know, the dancer has movements to do, and then suddenly this pole is there, so he has to work around it. And I like this idea of that you have a plan in life, you have a choreography, and then things happen, which they do, and then you have to go this way or that way. So you're immediately confronted with decisions all the time. And then you make a decision, you go this way around it, but you just have to be convinced about that decision and continue. So that will be the next piece. So that's a way for me to try and challenge my dancers and myself with this whole question of space. And I like the fact that it's a space that's constantly changing and which will probably change differently every night. So, yeah. Discipline is probably one of the key words that you can when you connect with dance, when you talk about dance. Without discipline, it's not possible. I mean, body discipline, which is of course involves mind discipline. And you know, it's funny. I know what it's like to be a dancer. I've been a dancer for years, and now I'm a choreographer. And I'm very disciplined in both, but I'm not actually a very disciplined person. I mean, you know, and I think that's the thing with people. It's easy to be disciplined in something you love and you believe in and you're driven by. You know, I don't have to think about doing it, and I don't have to think about staying longer in the studio because I have to finish it. It's just without question. And it's the same for the dancers. It's a very difficult career if you don't have that burning feeling for it. And then if you do have it, I think the discipline just comes automatically. Yeah, and therefore, I mean, I must say I'm blessed. I'm not that religious, but I feel really blessed with the company I have. I have great dancers. I've always had great dancers, but I think it's because I sense, because I burn for what I do. I love what I do. I'm very fortunate to be able to do what I do and live and survive with what I do. And I think I'm attracted to dancers. I can feel it in them if they burn for it. So when you join us in a rehearsal, I think you automatically feel this energy that the dancers have. I never have to tell them to do it, you know, more full out or work harder or, you know, I actually tell them, take it easy. This is the second run through, so take it easy, do it more for your head. And that's great, it's just brilliant. But I think it's definitely to do with the fact that they have their own inner drive. So it's lovely when it comes together. I mean, let's face it, you know, we all know, when you move, when you have to suddenly run for the bus or run for the train, it sends those good hormones around your body and you feel good. So actually movement makes you feel good. And I do worry about the fact that more and more kids just move less and less and less, you know. So education in the schools, I would like to see more movement. Whether they do their mathematics on a sort of in a way like this, I don't care, but definitely we've got to keep in touch with the body. And what worries me about also where dance is going in Germany, it's the same thing. And I'm very open about this, but it's this kind of like, let's talk about dance. Let's talk about the concept of dance. But where is the dance? It's just, you know, it's a concept and we talk about it. And again, we're losing touch with the body. And especially in dance, I mean, there are things that the body can do. It's just quite amazing. So why kill that? Why just put it purely to let's be intellectual about it. Surely we can be both intellectual and physical, and this is what I think is very important. I mean, you've got to use your body, but you've got to use your brain. Dance education. So basically, I hit on that. So dance education should involve both. So as long as I'm here in Saarbrücken, I'm doing everything I can to bring dance to the young people, to the schools, to doing big dance projects, discovering young talents. We have one guy which I'm really excited about. His name is Jamie. He's 17, and he comes from he lives in a SOS Kinderdorf, so he does not have any real support, but he's extremely talented. So he just actually started this week with an 11 contract with the company, so that he can learn a lot and we can really get his basis good, so he can audition for the Hochschule in Frankfurt, where I have a connection. So this is exciting, and I'd like more of these things to happen. Just bring dance to everybody, especially boys who think, for whatever reason, it should be only girls who dance, and that's, boys actually look really cool when they dance. I have some really great guys in the company, and when you think about education, quite a few of them, and I'm sure it's not a coincidence, but quite a few started really late. Like one of the main dancers in Silent Movie, he started when he was 19, and he's 20-something now. So it's never too late. I don't know what else I want to tell you, but just dance.